let, let me shut this door real fast, actually.
Yeah.
All right. Howdy, partner. This is your show. I will let you freaking take it.
Well, are you ready to go then?
Yeah. Well, what do you want to talk about?
All right. Well, first of all, hey, I want to introduce you, Neil Sutfin, prior Army Cavalry Scout, 19 Detail. For those of us who remember that,
Yes.
hey, thanks for willing to come on and talk to me a little bit about one, your prior service, two, your transition from when you transitioned from the Army. Kind of want to talk about your experiences, what you did right, what you did wrong, what you wish you knew, stuff like that. How did you get to the job you're at now? And, kind of touching all those bases, like what advice could you give others who are now going through the same process that you and I went through not too long ago?
Yep. Yeah, I'm excited, dude. Thank you for freaking having me.
Yeah, so we'll just start this off pretty simple. Give us a quick little bio about yourself, your background a little bit, and kind of where you're at right now.
Yeah. So I grew up in Eastern Oregon on a family ranch. When I was 17 years old, I enlisted in the Army and went to Fort friggin' Benning. Spent 4 months of lovely time that day before going to airborne school and eventually being stationed with the 82nd. Then from the 82nd, I quickly learned that I did not want to be a Joe forever, that I wanted to be an NCO, and I felt that. So I tried to work my way up as quickly as I can throughout the ranks, and then did my time. And due to some family circumstances, I needed to get out, and then I got out and I attended freaking TCU here in Fort Worth and obtained my 4-year degree in 3 years, and now I've been in real estate for the last 4 years now. So there's a quick little overview of me.
Awesome. So how do you like being in real estate, and how did you end up in real estate?
So I really enjoy it. It's a love freaking hate relationship. It seems like the only time that people freaking call you is to solve a problem. So your problem solving skills that you develop in the Army, they definitely transition over. And then I say the other thing that is a benefit for me is that in the Army, I was taught to work with multiple different freaking personalities across different boards and trying to keep track of time lines and everything like that. Because in real estate, when you are a land broker or you are a realtor, your job is to be the main guy in order to control the timeline on the flow of information, of documents, of making sure things get done right. The same way that I had certain Joes for certain stuff, I've got inspectors, I've got appraisers, and lenders. I actually ended up in real estate by accident. It was one of the best accidents to freaking happen. I applied for a job that I didn't get, and the job required me to freaking earn my license here in freaking Texas. So I had already paid for it, so I like, shoot, I'll go do it, and then the market took off. So.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That is really cool. I'm kind of glad you talked about you needed a certificate, you needed to get a little education. So talk to me about how you came into getting these certifications, the process you did, what money did you use? Did you use your benefits? Did you use your own out-of-pocket money? Kind of talk to us about that.
So my overarching goal when I got out of the Army was that I wanted to use my GI Bill, and that's my number one thing that I tell any veterans that I know that are about to get out is to make sure that you use that GI Bill, because it is incredible. I was the first male on both sides of my family to attend a 4-year university. On top of that, I did it in 3 years, leaving a year of my GI Bill left over, which I applied to the MBA freaking program. So that's where my goal was with the GI Bill. For my actual license, it was only like 1,500. So I paid for that myself. The GI Bill doesn't really cover it; only covers certain freaking trades. But my actual degree and everything was paid for through my GI Bill.
Okay, and then you used the remainder of your money going for your MBA, right? Is that what you said?
Yep. And then that was my goal when I first got started in college. They told me, hey, you need 120 hours spread out over 4 years. I'm like, well, why don't we do 120 hours spread out over 3 years, and then that way I have a year left over that I can apply to, whatever I want. And so they said, well, it's going to be intense. You're going to have to do a lot more. My senior year, I took 21 hours. I took 21 hours my senior semester. But then that allowed me to have my GI Bill for my MBA.
Dude, that's pretty awesome. That's intense though. So that's a lot, especially for a senior year.
Yeah. When I think of freaking college, I think of school books. My senior year, senior semester was 21 hours. It was like 8 different classes. It was something insane. But I needed to do that in order to get done with that because I was 3 hours short. So my senior semester, I had to do extra in order to make sure that I got done with that.
Hey, no, it makes sense, but you did it. You ground your way through it, and look at you now.
Yeah, but no, it was good, and I'm really glad that I did it. And as I said, that GI Bill, when I joined the Army, to pull freaking triggers, and then I got out, and all of a sudden I had a lot more opportunities than my friends who I mean, being what I got out when I was 21 years old, I had time as an NCO. I had already started school through AMU when I was in the Army, and by the time I got done with from college at 24, I had experience as a team leader. I had experience educationally wise, so it set me up for good success.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good to hear. And that's one of the big things we deal with these transitioning service members is dealing with the skills they already have, what they've learned, their education, regardless of what it's in, and kind of transferring that to the civilian side of the house. Because as you know, just as much as I do, probably even more, is the civilian world's a lot different than what we did day in, day out in the military, right? We had clear goals. We had defined things. Yeah, a lot of the times you're like, oh, why am I on this detail? It's stupid, whatever. But we were still learning valuable skills. So kind of, if you don't mind, talk to us about your transition when you transitioned from the Army, and what were some of the hurdles and roadblocks you faced during that transition?
So when I got out, I can remember I was walking through the freaking TCU freaking campus, and this guy was on his phone, and he was walking and on his phone and walking very slowly. Well, any of us who have served know that you don't do that. You stop, you text, you do what you need to do, and then you beat feet and you freaking carry on. And so I was fresh out, and I was used to being a team leader, and so I kind of snapped at this guy a little bit. I felt bad. I apologized and went out. So I struggled a little bit with it was a completely different experience from the military into college, and even what I had built up in my head of what this college experience is going to be like. Honestly, the biggest thing that I struggled with was the honesty. It really feels like in the Army, everyone's a lot more honest. If you're messed up, someone is going to tell you to stop. I mean, if you're jacked up, it's fine. It's not a big deal. You just stop whatever you're doing. You fix yourself, and then that's it. I'm not going to say anything else. Here in the civilian world, it's not like that. Everyone they get so offended over the smallest things. Like, man, like it's not that big of a deal. Just stop what you're doing and then fix yourself and move on. So that was a real big struggle for me, was just being able to communicate to people, because I was so used to communicating with people on a certain level and just being honest with them. And I don't think a lot of the population at freaking TCU, which is a private school, was used to the honesty level. So that was one of my biggest struggles. But again, it goes back to learning how to communicate with multiple different freaking people. You learn that in the Army, and then it's just a different type once you get back out. But that was the number one thing that I struggled with, was I missed how honest everyone was, and it wasn't a bad thing. You just freaking move on. It seems here in the civilian world, I have to write a freaking paragraph of an email to explain something when I can simply say, stop what you're doing. You need to be doing this right now. That's what I miss, because now I have to use AI to say, hey, then make this sound more friendly. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely the struggle is real there.
Yeah.
I know those of us who went corporate side of the house had an even bigger learning curve dealing with that corporate culture. The team dynamic isn't the same. The get it done attitude, shared joint attitude of, hey, this is one mission, we're all together. It's very different. So definitely very unique and very steep learning curves for some of us, especially those of us who were once in the yelling role. Definitely can't yell and scream anymore, so it's very, very different.
Yes.
So what would you say outside of that, kind of some of your lessons learned or takeaway, or even what was something that you wish you knew when you transitioned that you had to learn the hard way after the fact?
For me, it took me, one thing is that, when you join the Army, when you're 17, 18 years old, you're still a kid. You're still wet behind the ears. And it's why I say I was raised on a ranch, but I grew up in the Army, because they truly take you. And I actually wrote a paper. It's better for an 18-year-old to join the freaking service today, because I had several mom and dad just scream at me and making sure I did X, Y, and Z. And then by the time I got out, I was a lot better. But in my freaking head, and when I was in the service, I saw all of my friends go into college, and they were doing the typical, freaking college experience. When I got out, and something that I did not realize until after I had gotten out for a while, is that when you go to college, when you're 21 years old and you're stuck in a class with a bunch of 18-year-old freshmen who don't even do their own laundry, and you've been doing your own laundry for years, and you've been having a room inspection every day at 4:45 in the morning, the maturity level, you're so used to dealing with in the Army, especially in like a freaking combat role. I mean, it's a lot of type A personalities, go 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 go. I didn't expect that in the college. There's a lot more laziness. There was a lot more. It was difficult for me to be around people who just were okay. They weren't super competitive. But on top of that, this idea that I had built up of freaking college in my freaking head was nothing like the actual experience. You will never be able to experience those same things that you saw your friends when you're 18 and 19 years old to go and do. You will never get to do that. But on the flip side, they will never get to experience the things that I got to experience in Fort Bragg. I got to do so many more cool things than my friends who went there. So that was one thing that took me a while to understand. Like, my college experience is going to be completely different than them. I made more friends. I became Facebook friends with a bunch of my freaking professors. I was on first name basis with them. I was more friends with the older people in class, the other veterans. Actually, one of my good friends I met in the psychology class, and he was infantry with the 25th IDD. About the only friend I made in 2 years was that one other veteran. So that was a struggle for me, or just a learning curve, is that what I had built up in my head was not actually what was going to happen. Some things that I wish I would have done differently. I wish I would have enjoyed freaking college a bit more. And to me, it was always about just trying to get out to trying to get back to the workforce, because I was so used to being in the workforce, and then you kick back, and I mean, freaking college is pretty easy. I skipped freaking class one time, and I was so happy. It was my senior year, and I think I had like a doctor's appointment or said something. I was like, I'm like, all right, well, I've got freaking class at 3. I'm like, I've gone 3 years and I haven't missed a single class. I'm like, I want to be a college student. So I can remember I got back, and the entire time I was freaked out. I just kept on checking my phone because I wasn't where I was supposed to be. And then the next day I go up to my professor and I go, hey, whatever his name was, hey, I said, hey, look, I'm sorry, but I skipped your freaking class today. I've never skipped before, but I've just wanted to skip a class and feel the freaking college experience. And he goes, Neil, this isn't freaking mandatory for you to be here. You should be here, but I'm not going to babysit you and do a roll call. I was like, oh, well, I got smoked one time because I was 9 minutes early instead of 10 to 15 minutes early. So yeah, it was that was a learning curve for me for sure.
Way to go, dirtbag! How dare you miss formation? You missed movement completely.
I know, but I can say I actually skipped freaking college one time, and that's what I wanted to do. Even though I go up and I apologize for it immediately afterwards, thinking he's gonna make me do freaking push-ups. So.
Neil, you are such a rebel, you.
I know, right?
Well, awesome. I mean, definitely, I could definitely say college is a unique experience. You did it differently than I did. I did it while I was in. I got everything done while serving. You actually did a lot of years outside the military, so definitely, like you mentioned earlier.
Though, and you were actually one of the people who freaking motivated me. But I started college when I was in the service through AMU, through American freaking Military University. And then when I became NCO, I made a deal with my Joes is that if they're in the Bay, and it's like I will try to get them excused, but you have to go up there and you need to be enrolled into freaking college, and you need to be actively working, because I would not only to study. I can remember I was studying political science, and I would ask my Joe, what are the three freaking branches of the government, and they would say, well, they would get two of them, like I don't mean no the third. I need to study this. So I would use them to study with me, and they would be learning and whatnot. But that really kind of was the other thing, because a lot of my classes, I had about 15 hours. So I had a semester's worth about over the course of a year. I did a semester while in the service. And then that gave me, so that way when I rolled it into college, I didn't have to do as many freaking credits. So that did help out.
Yeah, I bet. And I bet your Joes thank you so much for giving them insights they probably didn't know they wanted.
No, but they learned about the three freaking branches of the government for sure.
There you go. Well, look, they're a little bit smarter, and they know a little bit more than they did beforehand.
Absolutely. But no, it was good.
Yeah, good. So, in your transition, whether pre, post, or during the transition of your military career, or even now, did you have any kind of mental health problems? And not necessarily dire things, but maybe I missed the camaraderie, you missed this, you missed that, you keeping in touch, with your battle buddies. So, if you did, no matter how big or small, kind of what would you say you did, what helps you kind of remedy that, and what advice would you give to others when they transition?
Absolutely. I will say that was the second freaking hardest thing to get adjusted to. Well, one was the honesty, and two was not having your battle buddies. And then next year all the time. It's weird on Fort Bragg. You go inside the gate and you instantly feel so safe. You go outside the gate to freaking NAM, you feel unsafe. But you go in there in the air and you're good. That was a real hard thing for me, because it seemed like I lost so many people so quickly. And in the service, you make the best and worst friends you will ever meet. I'm still best for friends with a guy that I met in first platoon, first week that I showed up to the 82nd. That was a real difficult transition, because like you're supposed to get so freaking close to these people, and then just one day someone ETSs or PCSs, and then they are gone, and it's difficult to maintain those relationships, because as life freaking happens and whatnot. So struggled a lot with that. Just also just depression from not being in the service anymore, not being expected to be, the freaking caliber of what you are supposed to be was gone. I thrive off that. So when that was taken away from me, my expectations for you are freaking high. I will. Yeah. Sorry, I just remembered a funny story from a very dear NCO who told me that their expectations of me were up here and I performed way down here. Now get the fuck out of my office. I wonder who that was. But
Gee, I wonder who that was.
yeah, destroyed me mentally. Like you could have smoked me for a day and a half, and I wouldn't have been phased. You do that psychological warfare on me, got me. So what I did, and what there's a lot of good friends that I've lost freaking touch with served, but the few and dear that were like extremely close, you know, like freaking Dalton Moore. He moved up to Ohio. I moved down here to freaking Texas. So to alleviate that, I've never been one into video games, but we started to play Xbox together, and it was something that I started to look forward to. Is that on a Friday night, instead of going to go out, no, I'll just drink a couple beers or some scotch, and we'll get drunk and we'll go play a freaking Call of Duty, and all the filters are off. You get that taste of that friendship again. So that was a huge the thing for me, was just we could even just, I mean, we never watched a freaking movie together, but we did play video games a lot in the first couple years of the transition, and then you start to make friends outside of it. But I'll be honest with you, at least in my experience, I've never made as good of friends as I did in the Army. So if you do have those relationships, make sure that you cherish them. They do take more time and more work, as in you need to make sure, like we would say, hey, every other night or every Friday night, we try to almost say, hey, let's game from 7 to 9 on Saturday night. It was almost like going and playing a round of a freaking golf with your buddy. Was I told the person I was with, like, that's my time with them, and that really kind of freaking helped me out getting through it.
Yeah, good. I mean, definitely the struggle is real. Keeping a lot of those military friendships, you got those that fostered well, and you will always stay, friends and battle buddies forever. You guys can not talk for 4 years, and then you talk one day, and it's like you never missed a day. And then there are others, you got to kind of work and schedule around. But I think that's true with anything else in life, right?
Yeah.
So, kind of wrapping this up, before we close it out, if you could give one giant piece of advice to all the transitioning service members, regardless of what branch, just kind of your overall, hey, if there's one thing you're going to do or take away, it would be this. Kind of what would be your yours?
I would have to say mine would be, we are given a freaking head start than everyone else in the country. Especially when you join the Army when you're 18 years old, and you accept and you mold those freaking practices that I take. We were taught to do things for a reason, and the mythology be freaking behind that was for a reason. The attention to freaking detail. All those things add up to when, as soon as you get out, your leaps are freaking ahead. I get told I look 35 all the time. Even when I was 24, I got told it was just the way that I acted, the way that I freaking present myself. One of the biggest things is to take, those small freaking habits. Like when I used to forget my ruck for a jump, I did it the same way every single time. I got very, very fast at it. I developed those freaking habits, and over that time in the Army, we were experienced to multiple freaking habits. Those will benefit you so much in the civilian world. So it's something that I try to make sure, like the freaking habit of going to the gym, or the freaking habit of always keeping a pen and paper on you. I always have. I'm always scribbling down notes. Those things, as soon as you that when you were in, you thought were a freaking pain, and you didn't want to do them. They freaking helped me out so much in the civilian world. So when you get out, really stop and think, okay, where are all the tools that were instilled in me, and now what are the ways I can apply those two tools in the civilian world. So that what I would say would be my overarching advice.
Excellent. That's actually really sound advice, really good advice too. So definitely thank you for that, Neil. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Absolutely.
It's a shame you ended up in Texas, but that's a great state to end up in. So.
Yeah. Hey, the girls down here are really pretty. That's all I'll say.
All right. Well, we'll leave it at that then. And
All right.
but hey, Neil, definitely always keep in touch. Stay in touch with us, and connect with us, and reach out to your fellow battle buddies out there. And by all means, hey, we're always here for you. You're never alone in this fight. And hey, thank you for being on the show, and look forward to bringing you back on.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right, take it easy, buddy. Hey, Neil.